The Harley Davidson Sportster, incredibly outdated, and that is exactly its appeal. And welcome back to the channel. Today I have a bike that I've wanted for a longer period of time than any other bike. Ever since I passed my motorbike test 11 years ago, I remember going to my test and having my training for the full week, and my instructor said to me, "Freddie, what bike are you going to buy once you passed?" And I said, proudly, a Harley Davidson Sportster. 2 days later, I got rejected for finance and I had a 12-year-old Honda CB500, but the dream never left. I've still always wondered, you know, if I could have got that finance, what would it have been like if I would have bought a Sportster? And still in the back of my mind, I still kind of want a Sportster, but somehow in the 11 years since I passed, I've never even ridden one. I don't know how that's possible. I've ridden so many other Harleys, but this has always evaded me. So let's start from the top. The bike I have for the day, as far as I can tell in the logbook, this is a 2007, and I'm reading here, XL 1200 low, 105th anniversary model. It is 68 horsepower, it's 250 kilos, it is injected and it's air cooled. And if you come to Tenerife, which is riding heaven, you can rent this very bike from Easy Rider Tenerife, and I'll include all of the details in the description below, and I'm sure Monica will put a little pop-up here, but they've got Harley Davidsons, they've got Royal Enfields, Triumphs, Ducatis. So if you're looking for a kind of modern classic old school style bike, go and check them out, because it is a one-stop shop for pretty much any of your dream bikes around that old school kind of area. Basically, all the bikes that I love, they've got. Do you know what, this is for me such an important bike, the Sportster. I want to give a very quick history lesson, because in 1952 the Harley Davidson K series came out, and then in 1957 the Harley Davidson Sportster came out, but the engine from the Harley Davidson Sportster was derived from the K series engine. And this engine that was derived in 1952, that came along in the Sportster in 57, the Sportster was then in complete continuous production from 1957 all the way through to the present day. And the engine from the original K series in 1952, up until 2021, when this was finally given a complete overhaul, the Sportster, up until 2021, this engine in here now was still derived from the 1952 bike. The 1952 bike. It then got a fairly big overhaul in '86 for pretty much a new engine that was still semi-derived from that 1952 one. But this engine here is pretty much the same as the 1986 engine, just with a few updates. A 1986 engine. Harley basically just didn't change the Sportster apart from a few updates every now and again. It is a proper old school feeling bike. Right, I'm there. You know, I don't usually do a history lesson, but I just find these so interesting, especially considering in 2021, the new, I think they call it Revolution Max engine came along. This bike is now in its brand new guise, 2021 onwards. It's completely different to this. It's a totally different animal. It's just, this is like a different model. It's so different. So this is now going to start being seen in my eyes very differently, and I'll get onto that later in the video. So what we have here is a bike very much of its time, and something that's going to be looked at very favourably in the coming years. Right, I'm 6'1". I mean, Monica sat on it earlier, she's 5'6", and she can so easily get both of her feet on either side. It's incredibly manageable because of the low seat height. It's also got a backrest, which I promise you is the single best thing you can ever get for a pillion and their comfort. Monica, how was this?
Oh, amazing.
I could just sit all day here. Okay, Hold that thought. I'm just going to get my cap. It's really warm. Right. Okay. Front to back of this 2007 Sportster. Let's see what we're dealing with. Single disc on the front, wire wheels. I mean, everything is simple here. Really, everything's simple. Everything's simple. Everything's old school. Very thin forks, like nothing remotely chunky about this at all, with a circular headlamp. Again, it's all so simple with these big Harley style indicators that fit very nicely under the levers. This has a big crash bar, and here it is. Oh, come round here, Monica. The engine. This engine, I think it will go down as an incredibly desirable engine to have, the 1200 Sportster engine. I think this is going to start being really, really desirable. I mean, it's desirable now, and I'll get onto this later, but this is an important engine. Coming out here, I tell you what, you can see a few bits here about how this looks like a 2007 bike, because that looks a bit flimsy. There are just a few bits you can kind of see. You know, newer bikes, these would be much chunkier, but there are the rear footrests, everything's in chrome, very nice. Bear in mind, this bike's 15 years old now. Harley owners, they look after their bikes probably unlike any other riders. They're the type of riders who get their toothbrush out and clean in between every single nook and cranny. So if you're looking for a used Sportster, it's going to be in incredibly good condition, chances are. Right, nice seat, not the softest, but it's so well shaped, it's very comfy. Backrest for a pillion, that is an absolute game changer. And coming round to the back of the bike, you've just got this very nice, elegant rear mudguard with, it's not even that bad. I mean, it's 2007 and actually it still looks perfectly good, that rear light. This is what Harley do, because it's all such high quality with no plastics. They age incredibly well. So even this 2007 bike, it still looks good. There still aren't any bits that I would feel like modernizing on it at all. And if you come round to the side, Monica, this is a fuel injected model, and I'll just show how I look on it there with these, I don't know if you call them mini apes, but it's a very, very nice place to be. As simple as you like. Clock. That's it. I mean, there's no rev counter. What have I got here? Just indicator here, horn here, lights here, start and on and off. There's nothing. I mean, there's no riding modes. There's absolutely nothing at all. Two important dates to remember if you're looking at one of these. One is 2004, because in 2004, all Sportsters went from being hard mounted to being rubber engine mounted, meaning there are rubber mounts in the engine, and that basically meant that the ride was much, much less vibey, which was exacerbated if you sat on the rear pillion seat, so it would be incredibly, almost unpleasantly vibey pre-2004, but then they rubber mounted the engine to hugely improve the ride quality. And the second date is 2007, because in 2007 all Harley Davidson Sportsters came with fuel injection. If you're someone like me who just cannot be bothered to be worrying about starting issues with carbs, you really need to be looking at a 2007 or 2008 model onwards for that peace of mind and that easy comfort riding. Okay, right. What do I want to find out today? I want to find out, is this Harley Davidson Sportster remotely sporty? Is it fun? What's it like to live with? And finally, and most importantly in my mind, are we here dealing with what could potentially be a fast appreciating future classic motorbike? Okay, whenever I get a new bike to test, first things first, quad lock on to the handlebar. So if you're not familiar with it, quad lock is basically a mobile phone mounting system for your motorbike. There are loads of different options. They've got wireless chargers, they've got, and let me show you this, vibration dampeners to protect your phone's internals. So that moves around and protects the phone's internals from the vibrations. I haven't got the wireless mount on here purely because I've only got it for the day. I just quickly put this on. So, vibration dampener, handlebar mount, put that around there like that, and there are lots of adapters that come with it, so this will fit onto any motorbike handlebar. Screw that into place, and then I've got my phone mount here. How shall I put it? Like that. Phone mount here, Screw that on as quick as that. That was about 20 seconds. Let me run and get my phone. It's the phone case that you just put on the back of your phone. So that's a normal phone case. Well, that's the quad lock phone case. And it's a game changer because look how easy it makes your life. On, and use my sat nav riding along, jump off, boom, in the back of my pocket. No worries about anything else. Wireless charger on my Bonneville, for example. Goodbye. Okay, yeah, it feels agricultural. It does. I know this is a 2007 model, but I've got a feeling that even going up to probably 2020 models, they would still feel similarly agricultural as this. If you look at this and you compare it to the modern day Triumph bobber or the modern day Indian Scout bobber, this feels ancient. It's nowhere near as dynamic. You don't get that feeling on this of wanting to chuck it round from side to side like that. It doesn't feel as sharpened a tool as those two. It doesn't feel as refined as those two. If you're going along on the Triumph bobber or the Indian Scout bobber, for example, it's smooth, it feels refined, especially on the Triumph bobber. On the Indian Scout bobber, the suspension will break your back. This is very, very different. This is completely different. This is raw. It's almost, you're constantly shaking on this the whole time, whether you're at a standstill or you're riding along. The vibrations from the engine are constantly shaking you. 2004 and backwards, without the rubber mounts on this, I would be intrigued to see how it would feel, because this is absolute constant non-stop shaking that I'll demonstrate in a second. And for Monica on the back with the backrest, she said it's comfy because of the backrest. She can just sit back and relax, but she can feel the vibrations very, very clearly. So pre-2004, without the rubber engine mounts, that would be a tough place to be on. And the Screaming Eagle exhaust, I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but actually I would probably spec it without, because it is so loud. I think I've lost about 30% of my hearing. And I have to show you this because I'll take off the mic. Get ready to listen to this Screaming Eagle exhaust. And also, I'm not even going to bother trying to talk because it's so loud you won't be able to hear me. Monica, if you come around here, I shall demonstrate the sound and the vibrations that this gives. I'll just clip this back on. You can stay that side, Monica. Everything's vibrating, whether it's the engine or the wheels, absolutely everything. We're looking at the Harley Sportster and wondering, where does this fit? If I'm looking at a used motorbike proposition here, and I'm looking at, well, let's be completely honest here, these hold their values ridiculously well. In fact, if you're looking at a 2008, 2009 Harley Davidson Sportster like this, you're probably going to have to be paying 8 to 9K. If you're looking at a 2010 one, you're probably looking at 8.5K. If you're looking at a 2018 model, you're probably going to be looking to paying 9 to 10K. So pretty much these bikes don't depreciate. And what that also means is that they hold their value so well that they're actually, even though when this was new, it was £2,000 cheaper than the Indian Scout Bobber in 2019, and it was £1,300 cheaper than the Triumph Bobber. So this was the cheap option out of all of them, which firstly surprises me, and secondly, those two options are way more refined. And you would think, oh, well, there you go, it's an easy choice. You go for the Triumph Bobber or the Indian Scout Bobber. But this is a very different animal, because Harley Davidsons, they know how to make real raw character, and character-wise, this compared to the other two is in a complete league of its own. If you want off-the-scale character from a cruiser like this, I don't think anyone does it better than Harley Davidson, because it's an all-consuming experience. You're just sitting on the bike wherever you are, vibrating all the time. It feels like it's been carved out of a lump of iron, this bike. There's no thought about it being anything remotely sporty. I know Harley Davidsons have the XL, I think they're all called the XL, the Sportsters. So it's the Harley Davidson XL 1200 or the Harley Davidson XL 883. And XL stands for experimental lightweight. Well, I mean, maybe it was in 1957 or something like that, but now these aren't remotely light, they're not remotely sporty, there's nothing remotely quick or dynamic about them. And I do love the fact that these are very of their time. This engine in this bike has been on this bike since 1986, with a small upgrade in 1988 to bring it up to a 1200cc. They didn't change it in what? 34 years? 34 years or something. They didn't change the engine. This is going to age incredibly well, this bike. I'm so sure of it. You know, some bikes exceed my expectations, and this is not one of them. This is exactly as I thought it would be. A big, heavy lump of iron, but it's more powerful than I thought, and it's got bags of character. So yes, it is exactly as I thought it would be, but that's no bad thing. It's heavy, it's unrefined, but character. I'll be saying it all day. Character, character, character. This bike is about character above everything else. It's about character above handling, above dynamism. It's all about the character. Oh, I needed that. It's about 3 o'clock, we haven't eaten, we've just been having so much fun. Okay, I want to look at the Sportster 1200 or even the 883 as a used motorbiking proposition and potential investment bike. Right. 1970s 883 Harley Davidsons. They're about £19,000 now. They are incredibly desirable. If we go all the way back, well, not all the way back, but let's go back to about 1998, which is where the readily available Harley Sportsters come in. 1998 models, you're looking about 5K. 2005 models, about 6K. 2009 models, remember, that's where you get all of the fuel injection, everything like that. 2008 onwards. If you're looking at 2008 onwards, you're looking at about £7,000. And then you get up to 2012, 8 to 9K. So 2012 or 8 to 9K, 2016, 9K. Pretty much, if you take into account inflation, these bikes don't depreciate. So you can buy this now, and I would bet a decent amount of money on the fact that this is actually going to go up in value. Plus, there's the new Sportster model. I know I touched upon it in the intro. Once a brand new model comes along, what usually happens is that brand new model will in turn push up the prices of the outgoing model. And what was once seen, in the case of this Sportster, as a slow, kind of arthritic almost bike, suddenly seems and is looked at in completely different eyes. It's very characterful. So I think we're right on the cusp now of this Sportster turning into something very, very special in a lot of people's eyes. Maintenance costs. Don't think because this is Harley's entry-level bike that it's going to be cheap to maintain. I remember a neighbour of mine, back when I used to live in southeast London, had the 883 Sportster, I think from about 2005 or so. Beautiful looking bike, 8 bars, looked incredible, but he said it needed some engine work and it was so expensive to get the engine work done. I think he ended up just selling it as in need of engine work. He ended up buying a Honda NC 700, if I can remember correctly, and I asked him, do you miss the Harley? And despite of all of those issues, he still missed the Harley. I then spoke to the owners of this bike, Easy Rider Tenerife, and I said, what is it like, maintenance costs? And even they admitted, yes, it can be on the pricey side, even for fairly standard servicing. There are a few bits where you even need to take the engine out, I think. So it's not going to be the cheapest bike to maintain. If you ever come to Tenerife, come to Pistachio, because honestly this food is just about some of the best on the island, and the coffee for us, I think Monica and I both agree, is the best coffee that we've found on the island. It's probably not going to win any awards, the view, and actually you'd never know it exists because it's right behind just a row of shops over there, but just Google it, come here, highly recommended. It's a really nice little tucked away spot. Right, this bike is slow, heavy, agricultural and outdated, actually fairly seriously outdated. But, and trying to justify this bike for any other reason other than the looks and the character is madness, because you just can't at all. But we bikers are a passionate bunch. You know, there's a huge amount of bikers who will value character and looks over any kind of common sense and practicality, and that's where a bike like this comes in. You cannot justify spending such a huge amount of money on a bike like this. You can't justify it with common sense at all. But I still really want it. I want this bike. I've been riding around thinking, okay, right, Fred, if you go out and you get one of these, let's get a quieter exhaust on there, and I think I would take the Mini Apes just to put my riding position like that, and I'd probably go for an all black one, but I'd keep that backrest the way it is. Yep, okay, right. See, I'm already speccing it in my head. That's how I know I like it. Well, and there you have it. The Harley Davidson Sportster, incredibly outdated, and that is exactly its appeal. And that's it. Thank you so much for coming along with us today. If you would like to rent out this exact bike or any number of extremely cool modern classic motorbikes, give a shout to Easy Rider Tenerife. They're a brilliant bunch and just the coolest selection of bikes. I'm curious, let me know your thoughts on the Harley Davidsons, and also, do you see this as a really, really hot future classic motorbike? Thank you so much for coming along with us today, and we'll see you in the next one.